Right, welcome guys, another video on Doctor Who. I did a video yesterday on the Doctor Who Joy to the World Christmas special, but I failed to take a look at the reviews, and that's what this video is about, actually. It didn't even occur to me to look at those reviews, but the Rotten Tomatoes score is in. It's pretty bad. We can compare this review to the previous one, the amount of people reviewing it compared to the previous one. It's interesting, it's metrics to work with. It's just purely a sort of analytical measure to see the general decline in interest with respect to Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who. So that's what the topic of today's video is. Hit subscribe if you're a returning viewer. Would love to have you here more often. I can see from my analytics there is a substantial amount of people that keep watching the channel that are not subscribed, and it really does help the channel out way more than I can express. It helps with the algorithm, it helps YouTube in terms of placement of the channel and pushing the channel to you guys, especially the ones that actually watch the channel. So if you could, I would really appreciate it. Anyway, let's dive into it, shall we, ladies and gents? So I'm not even gonna tease you with any more stuff. Here it is, right? Here it is. Here is the Rotten Tomatoes score, 48. Not anywhere near as bad as what the previous one was. The previous one managed to get to 29%. So, you know, 48 to 29. It's a big difference, isn't it? Now, I think what is interesting about this is just the general decline in people's interest. That's their take-home thing here. Now, Rotten Tomatoes is not the be-all and end-all, but it is a useful tool when you're extrapolating data. So when we look at this, you know, 48%, you could say, well, that's quite a good score. Yeah, it's not bad, right? We looked at this yesterday on my podcast, my live stream podcast, and I think it was about 50%. So it's dropped by 2 percentage points. It's not really gone up drastically in the amount of people reviewing it, but it is declining. So it is very mixed to negative now, because it's sub 50%. If you were to round it, if you were to, you know, do rounding numbers, you'd round it down, wouldn't you? So it's not great. It's not great. But when we're looking at these kind of figures, you know, the 48% matters when you're taking into account the substantially less people reviewing this than the previous one. So the previous one had over 1,000 people reviewing it, which goes to show, yeah, there was a lot of people interested in that. In fact, there was even substantially more people reviewing it in terms of the critics. 28 people critics were reviewing it compared to 8 on this one, which is really bad. You know, if you're looking at those two metrics, that's really bad. You had over 1,000 people reviewing it just in terms of the audience, and only 50 plus reviewing it in terms of the audience now here. That's disastrous. That's a disastrous decline in interest. Now, the previous one would have had more people interested in it anyway, because of course it was on the back of, I think it was 3 specials, if I remember rightly, where you had David Tennant, and then they, you know, the bi regeneration or something like that, the bi generation that they did. Way to work that term in there. And then this was always going to have a few more people, but if it was good, it would have held people's interest, and it hasn't. That is the take home of this. You know, when you look at high reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, look at the amount of people that have reviewed it. Those metrics work in conjunction with one another. Morbius, famously, actually had a relatively okay Rotten Tomatoes score at the start. Didn't mean it was a financial success, it was a disaster. So I thought we'd just take a look, because these are comical. Well, they're hilarious, actually, quite frankly. Some of these reviews are like comedically geniuses, which, you know, you gotta love. First things first, here we have it. Terrible. There is no good news for Doctor Who. Just terrible. Nothing happens. We get more tears from shitty actor. I'll have to just watch Smith and Capaldi, the only actors that brought something. And that is a massive take home from this Doctor, is that he just cries all the bloody time. This pathetic garbage selling a message no one wants is a bloody disgrace. People in the UK are forced to buy a license to produce this shite. Not true. You don't actually have to have a license if you're not going to be consuming the BBC. It sounds wrong, doesn't it? But you don't have to have a license if you're not going to be watching stuff on the BBC. So That's good, obviously. So, you know, if you're not doing that, and also live TV as well, if you're not going to be watching those things, don't watch it. Don't have a license. I don't have one. It's garbage. Disney, what have you done to this franchise? Nah, mate. The BBC were destroying it long before Disney came around. I'm better off now going to rewatch David Tennant and Matt Smith's episodes. Today's writers are leaving everything to be desired. And that is another thing. A lot of it is critique of the writing. The writing is appalling. Turned off after one of their characters were apparently mansplained by a briefcase. What? Mansplained by a briefcase. Just another low point in entertainment history. Stop inflicting this rubbish on the public, please. Amazing. What have they done to this once cherished IP? It's like an awful parody of what it once was. They should just write the last 6 years off as an extended Red Nose Day special. FYI, full transparency, I know I'm just looking at the negative reviews. Yes, there are positive reviews. I don't want to look at them. I want to look at the bad ones. Because it is negative. Right? Overall, the sort of current state of Doctor Who is in decline. So you need to pinpoint what people are disliking about it on the whole to know where they're going wrong. The positives are not going to help you in that at all, actually. They're also not that funny. It's still terrible. Tried watching it as this was a Christmas special. It's a mess. All over the place and nonsensical. You ruined my favourite franchise. Please end this experiment. Has gone wrong. Gower continues to be a useless doctor. Amazing. Weak and religiously dangerous. Great. Just can't get behind Shooty Doctor. He probably would like you to be behind him. But seems to have a limited range as an actor. I really wanted to like him, but I just don't. Also, writing is terrible. What happened to Doctor Who? Again, writing. It's about the writing. Total trash. Gotta love it, guys. Gotta love it, eh? Just like everything else with this Shooty Doctor run, it was appalling. This doesn't deserve any stars. It deserves to be erased because Gatwa, RTD and the BBC are ruining the show. I have the most passion for, and what they're doing is breaking me. Never shuts up, BBC Doctor Who. What? Did he just talk all the time, does he? And that's it. That is it. That is actually all of the reviews. There are basically no reviews here. Again, important to note when you're comparing it to these. The amount here, 1,000 plus. People don't care anymore. And that's worrying. If you're investing hundreds of millions of dollars into a show where no one can even be bothered to negatively review it anymore either, that's when you know you've really screwed up. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop it down below, ladies and gents.